A wave of AI job losses is turning into a tsunami.
48,000 jobs at UPS, 14,000 at Amazon, 1,800 at Target, a slew of layoffs.
There's a certain kind of job that doesn't get talked about much. It doesn't have a glamorous title. It's not a trade. It's not a senior executive role. It's the kind of job that millions of people spent years working toward. Entry level, white collar, the first rung on the ladder. And right now, quietly, that rung is being sawn off. Not in a dramatic announcement, not in a single news cycle. It's happening in hiring freezes, in internship programs that don't come back after a pause, in job listings that get posted and then disappear. Not because someone was hired, but because someone decided a human wasn't needed for the role at all. This video is about what's actually happening, why it's moving faster than most people expected, what history tells us about moments like this, and what it means for the shape of work going forward, because the consequences of this shift don't stop at the office door.
Artificial intelligence is taking jobs, and that is not a prophecy anymore. It is happening as we speak.
Has raised fears that AI is already whacking corporate jobs.
To understand the scale of what's happening, you don't need to look at a report. You can just look at the behavior of major companies over the last couple of years. IBM announced it would stop hiring for roles it believed could be replaced by AI, specifically calling out human resources and administrative support. This wasn't framed as a cost-cutting measure. It was framed as a strategic decision about the future of how work gets done. Accenture, one of the largest professional service firms in the world, cut thousands of jobs. The majority of them entry-level and non-billable positions, while in the same breath announcing it was accelerating its investment in generative AI tools. In customer service, the shift has been even more visible. Walk through the support process of almost any major tech company today, and you will interact with an AI before you ever reach a human, if you reach one at all. A few years ago, that wasn't the case. The change has been rapid and, for the most part, quiet. Law firms are using AI to conduct research and draft contracts in a fraction of the time it once took a junior associate. Marketing departments are generating first drafts, campaign briefs, and audience analysis without the entry-level hires that used to do that work. None of this is happening because these companies are struggling. Most of them are doing well. It's happening because the calculation has changed. The cost of an AI tool versus the cost of a junior hire, in salary, in management time, in training, no longer favours the human in a growing number of roles.
Jobs report shows some job gains in industries like healthcare, hospitality, and leisure, but concerns are growing about AI replacing some human workers.
So why entry level specifically? Why is it the bottom of the white collar ladder that's being targeted first? The answer comes down to what entry level work has always actually been. For decades, junior office roles have been built around a specific set of tasks: processing information, writing first drafts, conducting research, organizing data, transcribing notes, supporting more senior people so that they can focus on higher order decisions. These are cognitive tasks, but they are also largely routine cognitive tasks, and routine is exactly what AI is good at. What makes this moment different from previous waves of workplace automation is that the nature of what's being replaced. When the spreadsheet arrived in the late 1970s, it did not replace the accountant. It made the accountant more powerful. The accountant could now do in an afternoon what it used to take a week. The tool served the human. What's happening now is structurally different. Generative AI doesn't assist with the task and hand the result back to a person. In many cases, it performs the task from beginning to end, produces an output, and the human's role is reduced to checking and approving, if that. The entry-level hire who used to own that task no longer has a clear place in the process. The roles most at risk share a common thread. They are focused on handling and moving information rather than on human judgment, relationships, or physical presence. And that description covers a significant portion of what entry-level white-collar work has traditionally looked like.
Well, just this week, for example, Procter & Gamble is saying that it'll cut up to 7,000 jobs. Although they did not use the word AI, they used the word digitization and automation.
It's worth stepping back for a moment, because this is not the first time the economy has gone through something like this. In the early 19th century, the introduction of industrial machinery fundamentally disrupted the skilled textile workers of England. The Luddites, a word we now use dismissively to mean someone who resists technology, were actually highly skilled craftsmen who understood correctly that the machines being introduced would hollow out their livelihoods. They weren't wrong about the disruption. What they couldn't fully see was what would come after. The Industrial Revolution did destroy entire categories of work. It also, over the following decades, created new industries, new job categories, and new forms of economic life that nobody had anticipated. The transition was painful and uneven, but the economy did restructure. In the 1980s, automation swept through manufacturing. Assembly line workers in the American Midwest, in the industrial heartlands of Britain and Germany, found that the jobs their parents had built stable lives around were disappearing. The recovery was partial and geographically uneven. Some communities never fully recovered, but new sectors absorbed a portion of the displaced workforce. The question that historians and economists have wrestled with ever since is, does that pattern hold this time? The honest answer is that we don't know. What's different about the current wave is the speed and the fact that it's targeting cognitive work rather than physical work, a part of the economy that previously automation largely left untouched. Whether the same restructuring dynamic plays out and over what time frame is genuinely uncertain.
Because the positions that are at most risk are going to be positions that involve a lot of repeatable actions, data entry, data analysis, anything that requires you to sort through all sorts of documents at scale. That's something that AI can do really easily.
While white-collar entry-level work contracts, something else is happening on the other side of the labour market, and it's worth paying attention to. Some economists have started describing what's emerging as a K-shaped economy. Picture the letter K. One arm points upward. That's the people whose value in the labour market is rising. The other arm points downward. That's the people being squeezed out. And the middle, the stable ground that previous generations stood on, is quietly disappearing. What's striking about the current version of that K is which direction each arm points, because it's not quite what most people would have predicted. The same forces driving AI adoption in offices are also driving a different kind of investment elsewhere. Governments and private companies are pouring money into physical infrastructure, semiconductor manufacturing, energy production, electrical grids, industries that require skilled human hands, physical presence, and specialized knowledge that cannot be replicated by a language model. A software tool cannot weld a pipeline. It cannot operate refinery equipment or manage electrical infrastructure. The people who can do those things, who have spent years developing physical, technical expertise, are finding themselves in a labour market that is beginning to value them more and not less.
Definitely at risk. Accountants are in big trouble because data entry and analysis is very easily done by AI.
Data scientists.
So where does this leave us? Every major economic disruption in history has eventually produced a new equilibrium. The Industrial Revolution created the factory worker. The post-war boom created the office worker. The digital revolution created the knowledge worker. Each transition was painful for the people caught in the middle of it, and each one eventually gave way to something new. What's harder to answer this time is the question of timing. Previous transitions played out over decades, long enough for education systems, institutions, and individuals to adapt. The current shift is moving faster, the gap between disruption and adaptation may be wider than it has been before. The entry-level white-collar job, as it existed for the last 50 years, may not come back in its current form. The question is what replaces it, and whether the systems we have built to prepare people for work are capable of answering that question fast enough. There's not a reason to panic, but it is a reason to pay close attention to how the economy is actually moving, rather than how we assumed it would. If you found this useful, subscribe to Macro Breakdown. We break down the big economic forces shaping the world, from historical events to what's happening right now.